Buenos días de nuevo a todos. Estamos ya.
Good morning. We are going to start our last presentation within this panel of creating an active and participatory citizenship through culture. In this course, Cultural Policies in Europe in the Face of Integration Challenges. To close our program, we have Pedro Blanco Vivas. He's manager of the International Festival of Classical Roman Theatre of Merida. Yesterday, Hugo de Greve spoke as member of the EFA, and he spoke about the work of festivals in Europe. And being as we are in Extremadura, and since the Classical Roman Theatre Festival is part of that association, we wanted to show a practical example of what does the Classical Roman Theatre of Merida, what does it do to engage citizens, and what is what they do with regard to theater, economy, and tourism. Without further ado, I'd like to tell you that the PowerPoint that we couldn't show yesterday was already sent. You can have the information. And now we're going to see the practical example with the last presentation. Pedro, the floor is yours. Thank you, Miguel. Good afternoon. It's afternoon already. I'm glad that you're all very sharp and ready to listen to my words. First of all, I would like to personally thank Miguel and the Foundation for inviting us to be here with all of you and to tell you what we do in Mérida and from Merida to Extremadura and the whole of Spain and the whole world. Merida is a city with a long trajectory since it was created by the Roman Empire. They had a great idea to come and inhabit these fields. For their legionaries, it was a prize or an award after their short or long life of being a soldier. And the archaeological site that we have in Merida is not just for the tourists and scientists to see. We want these sites to be useful for present society. And the way they were used and they were built for, we want them to be used as well as present. We want to keep using them. So that is what we want to do in this International Festival of Classic Roman Theatre. We do it during the months of July and August for 2 months, and the activities carried out within the Classical Roman Theatre, but it involves the whole city, as you will see, because it goes far beyond the city of Merida itself. And in 2014, we were even more ambitious, and we took one of the projections for 2 weeks to Madrid, to the capital of Spain, and there we did Classical Roman Theatre in Madrid for 2 weeks. Here you can see the theatre, the Roman theatre itself, and it's spectacular. There is no need to defend it because you can see it here thanks to the greatest archaeologists from last century. They had the great idea once they excavated around it, and they rebuilt it, they reconstructed it. So they were pioneer archaeologists of modern times, because not only did they discover a site for everybody to see, but now we can all use it. And that was at the beginning of the past century. In 1993, there was the first play done by Margarita Sigrid in about Medea. And after, and this was in the 30s, sorry. And after the Civil War, we have done, for 62 years, we have celebrated this international festival. In 2016, it has been the 62nd, edition. Here you can see the monument and of tourist interest site as an archaeological interest as an archaeological site, and here you can see the cultural interest. You can see how it is filled with people. We transmit classic culture in the different fields. If you can see here the image that I'm showing you, this is the image for the 62nd edition in 2016, from the 6th of July to the 28th of August. This is just for you to see what are the plays that we do for 2 months. Tragedy, pure Greek and Latin, Greek, Marcus Aurelius, the Pelopidas, dance, as well with the War of Women, the 10th Muse, which is music. After listening to our previous speaker, and so that you can see that classical culture still can transmit its message summer after summer, the War of Women was done in a flamenco style with some popular artists, and it tells the story where women are tired of men going to the war, and that's the only thing they worry about, the war. They are only and constantly thinking about war, about conquering, about power. So what women do, and I'm sorry for being so blunt, is closing their doors. Their legs, sorry. And so when men come back from the war, they just don't want to lay with men. And so this is ironic, because it's a bit of an irony, because it's a very modern idea as well. And that's one of the goals of this message, of this festival. Medea or Oedipus, those are plays about family feuds, and they're very modern as well. They're very. It's something that is happening nowadays, but it was done in the classical time. Here you can see the nice face of this festival. There are Spanish actors like Veronica Forqué or the musician Ara Malikian. And this year he came to play violin and with his orchestra, but he also told us about his problems as a refugee when he arrived to Germany. So everything is up to date. Everything is can be interpreted in theater as well. Can be done plays about them. The festival is developed, as we say, mostly within the framework of the Roman theater. We had 9 plays, 41 days of activity where we did theater, music, dance. This is another image of the Roman theater filled with 3,000 people. This is the working theater, the biggest one in Spain, even though it is only celebrated during summer. In Madrid, the biggest theater, they can have 1,100, 1,300 seats, but here we have 3,000. In Mérida, we only have 60,000 inhabitants or less. In our autonomous community of Extremadura, with just about 1 million inhabitants, to fill a theater with 3,000 seats for 2 months, day after day, is a great challenge, and we have very warm or hot weather in summer, but I show you the image during the day, and it's very different what happens during the night, because at night magic happens with the light, with the respect that every person that comes to a theater feels, and that's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to live this. The festival, the theater festival, goes far beyond the theater. It goes also onto other monuments like the Temple of Diana and the square of the Roman baths. There we have what we call the off program, which is amateur theater and plays for these two same months during summer. Here you can see the Temple of Diana with the public, about 350 seats. And here you can see that the plays are done by, as I said, amateur theater artists. Here you can see the square of the Roman baths. It's a Roman site as well, where we have the same type of initiatives and activities. Here you can see the portico of the forum. Merida used to have two, the provincial and the local, and here you can see the portico of the provincial forum, and we do film projections every week on Monday, which is usually the day where we change the scenario between different plays. But we not only show Ben-Hur, for instance, Roman-related films. No, we also project films that convey what I just mentioned, the culture or the Greco-Latin message in more modern versions. Here you can see the headquarters of the festival. It was an old convent in the city center of Mérida. It's used for exhibitions. The last that we celebrated was together with a winery of the region. Had to do with the culture of winemaking in Rome. It was a winery from Rioja. We also collaborate with the Museum of Roman Art, where we do exhibits. For instance, this year it was a theatrum. It had to do with the masks that actors used to wear in the theater. By sheer chance, this year we had the exhibition theatrum that I just mentioned, but we also maintained the previous years, which was Lusitania, which was the bringing together of two peoples. Last year we had this exhibition in Lisbon at the Archaeological Museum, and now we have it at the Archaeological Museum of Madrid. So that's why I'm talking about going beyond the borders of Merida. Then we do theater on the streets, parades every Saturday. We represent yearly different myths or classical texts. This year it was a parade on metamorphosis. Then another activity that I wanted to show you was the International Workshop in cooperation with the Youth Institute of Extremadura. There, 30 young people have the chance to see what we do behind the scenes. They see and they participate in conferences, in setting the stage, and they also participate in what I mentioned, the off festivals. They do a play as well. This year, these 30 young people came from 10 different countries. They spent 15 days in Mérida with us. But our activities go far beyond Mérida. Since 2014, we also do theater plays at the Roman Theater of Medellin. In case you don't know it, Medellin is located in Badajoz. It has 4,000 inhabitants, but it's a very lucky town because it has archaeological remains and sites by Muslims, Romans, and Middle Age. And what is best known of Medellin is a castle, and in the middle of the slope where the castle is located, they found a Roman theater. That was just a few years ago, and so we decided to do theater plays there. It has about 1,400 seats, and bear in mind that this town is only 4,000 inhabitants. It has only 4,000 inhabitants, And for the 3 days we do the plays, it's almost full in the month of June. Around the southwest or southeast of Badajoz, we have a town called Casas de Reina, and they have the Roman Theatre of Regina, another Roman theatre, and that's where we take festival productions to represent them there with 1,100 seats. What else do we do during these 2 months of festival? Well, as we get bored in the theater, we think it's not enough. So after everything I told you about exhibitions, parades, the theater plays, then we do 20 theater workshops in 20 towns of Extremadura. We hire 20 different theater companies, and they do these workshops. We started this in 2012, and every year we change the location of the towns. We also do a cycle of conferences where the University of Extremadura participates as well. It deals with discovering the classical authors, and so experts tell us about the theater plays and what were they based on. Then we have also master class. This year it was taught by José Luis Alonso de Santos. Then we have classical storytellers for the youngest in the main square. Different actors tell little kids some stories, young kids that are less than 1 year of age to 12 years, and for an hour and a half they listen, they really pay attention to what classical storytellers are telling them. And this is the fun part of what the public sees. But what I want to tell you is, what is this for? Is this just for fun? Oh yeah, we attract tourism. Yes, of course we do. But how do we transmit that? What does it translate into? It translates into wealth. The activities we perform have one goal as well, not just transmitting and disseminating culture and tourism. It also translates into wealth and jobs. And that's one of the other sides that we can never forget either. Here are some facts, some numbers. 163,000 visitors came last year in a town of 60,000 only. At the Roman Theatre, just at the Roman Theatre, in 41 days, we had over 92,000 visitors, and the maximum was 120,000. So 92,000 people went to the Roman Theatre, and these numbers even multiply, so remember what I'm telling you. Then the exhibitions, they're shown to 53,000 visitors. The parade's Metamorphosis was visited by 8,000 people. The off program in Mérida, over 4,500. The Roman Theatre in Medellin, over 3,400. The Roman Theatre in Regina, 1,000. And it's important to show what we're doing, because it's very good what we do at a regional and local level, but the reason why we do it is this. We need to tell what we're doing. So every year we hire a specialized company that measures the immediate impact that we have. In the 2016 edition, we have been in the written press for 899 pieces of news. We don't like the 900 round number, 899, and that is written press. With regard to radio, we have mentioned 541 times. I'm not just saying about small mentions. No, these are important pieces of information on our festival. Television, we have had 146 pieces of news. And the news and interesting leisure programs like Hormiguero, or more of a social press as well. And then we have internet, where we had 3,418 important pieces of news. And then social network, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel. We have our own channel, where, for instance, in Facebook we had 16,715 likes, and for us this is very important, and this all has a certain value. All the communication has a certain impact, so we want the company to tell us not just how many times we've been on the news, but we want to know how does that translate into money, because we want to know what we're doing it for. Here you have some real data. The communication campaign, if it had an economic impact, that media repercussion, it has a cost of 23 million euros, and it would reach an audience, a potential audience of 700 million people. It seems like a very inflated and big number, but it's not. As I said, we hire a specialized company, and they tell us where we're heading and who we're reaching. How does that translate, what I just mentioned? We carry out some surveys during the festival so that we knew who was the public that was visiting us. And besides the dissemination of culture and the use and exhibition of our heritage, we wanted to know what we were doing this for. And so we asked those who came to the theater whether it was the first time or not, and more than half of them had already visited us before. We asked them, how many times have you been to the festival? 70% had come 3 or more times, so we are consolidated. Then we ask, how did you know us? And then we have a vision of trust, because it's the word of mouth. They hear from family members, from friends. Then from social network as well. That was the second percentage of importance. We also have an assessment on the event. They told us that it was very attractive. As I said before, it transmits the idea that I said before, that it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and activity that you should go to. Then how does that translate to wealth? I'm sorry that I said that word, but for us it's wealth. How does it translate in our territory? Over half, about 55% of the people who came to the visit, they had an overnight stay in Mérida or near that town. Then visitors, they do other things. They visit the natural settings, the region, other monuments. We asked them whether they visited other things, and they said that 40% did other things too around the region. And we asked them how much do they spend on accommodation, food, presents, leisure activities. I'll come back now to expenditure, but I want to talk to you first about where do people come from to visit us. The first percentage comes from Badajoz, and the second greatest comes from Madrid, from the capital, which is very attractive for our region. Third is Cáceres, near here, but the fourth percentage is Barcelona, and Seville is the fifth, which once again is very attractive for the work that we carry out. And then who's the public? The age range. Between 30 to 50 years, that's the main percentage. So that's a well-educated group of people. So that helps us as well attract younger population. Now I come back to the expenditure of visitors. 55% of visitors had an overnight stay in Merida, and those who stayed for the night, they spent about 121 euros between accommodation, leisure, food, products that they bought, presents. 45% of all the people who went to the theater is about 42,000 people who slept in Merida or nearby, which is more than 5 million euros expenditure according to our data. For those who do not have an overnight stay, they spend about 76 euros. So without sleeping in the city, they still give us a return of about 3 million euros. So you can see that the investment in culture, the investment in the Merida Festival, with a budget of about 2,300,000 euros, it gives us a return of over 8 million euros, which is mostly direct impact. Let us see now what is the indirect impact. Workers of the festival, actors, sound technicians, etc. There are about 550 people in the festival, but also, and that's a direct employment, but with regard to the non-direct, there are more jobs in restaurant, hotels, transport, media, bars, etc. We do not have the means to carry out a survey, a very deep survey, to go to all the companies and ask them, but I think that gives you the general picture of the non-direct impact. Now let's go back to our previous slide. Nope. Next. Here you can see what is the Trust Consortium. It has, as I said, budget of 2,300,000 euros. It comes half from the tills, the money that is made with the theater, and half of the sponsor. As you can see here, Ministry of Education, the regional government of Extremadura, the government of Badajoz, Cáceres, some other private sponsors. Pentación is the company that manages the organization of this event, so that you can see how it works. Here we have other minor sponsors with regard to advertisement. Reale, for instance, gives us the insurance policy. It's not a direct investment, but we're saving money. Or Digital Press, El Cultural, they always help us. Last but not least, I wanted to show you once again Merida Theater, prepared for the night play. It's empty though, but what we like and our main goal is to fill it with people, not just to show off or transmit culture, but the message I wanted to convey today is to generate wealth and employment. Thank you very much for listening, and especially at this time of the day and after this long day. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro, for showing us what the Merida Festival is and the work you carry out there, and above all for the vision you have given us, which was still missing in this course, the down-to-earth data. When we speak, and this happens also in the European Union, we ask for resources from them, so that culture has a value in the society where we're living. What we are being asked, and you know many of you about this. For instance, Mercedes, who also mentioned this the other day. What they're asking us for is data, statistics of how that event is important in a very direct way, the profit the society makes. You can imagine the amount of people who live from cultural activity, not just the people who work in the theater, artists, attrezzo, sound, but also souvenir shops, etc.
Podemos ir.
We could really continue and go to see the different sectors that are benefited from this. And this is an engine of Europe, which we would like to be stronger, but and more powerful. To give back the contact to Hugo, who represents all the festivals. Maybe you wish to say something, Hugo, regarding this wealth. No, you don't want to say anything. In any case, I open the floor for comments or questions. Is it clear? We have a question there. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have seen huge data for a very short period of time, 2 months. I am not sure whether the rest of the year the theater is closed, and linking with part of the rest of the contents of this course, the sustainable engine, the creation of initiatives. I suppose this is open to the citizens. Is this open to the citizens? Because this is the classic theater. Could you elaborate a little bit more on this, and what are you thinking for the future, so that the town can take advantage of that dynamics? Yes, for climate reasons, since it is an open-air theater, the activities are limited to July and August. In September, concerts are organized from time to time in the Roman theater. The rest of the year, it is open to the public. It is a tourist site which can be visited, and it is visited actually throughout the year. Other activities, yes, of course, during March and April, there is a festival of classic theater from Greece and Rome, which is done by students from the secondary schools of Extremadura and from outside Extremadura as well. But the rest of the year is only used as a monumental site, which is embodied in the rest of the city. I mean, the most attractive is probably that. This is what perhaps responds to your question. The data referred only to the period of the activity of the festival. I also referred to whether there has been a more active participation of the citizens in order to use that space in any way. For other activities, well, yes. One of the main goals with all this communication campaign of the festival is not only the festival. The festival is called Festival de Mérida. What we intend is that Mérida sounds and resonates not just during those 2 months, but that Mérida and the rest of Extremadura resounds throughout the year. That is why Merida keeps tourism very active. It has been increasing during the summer, not just during the summer, but also during the fall and winter. So there is an impact on that, and there has been a great increase in tourist movement. There is also some citizens' movements that wish to use the theater and also the Roman culture as well. And in June, it has been moving dates, but it is a sort of festival which is Emerita Ludica, which is also done not just in the theater, but also battles, performances, Roman village, religious celebrations. It lasts for 5 years. I beg your pardon, for 5 days, and it goes throughout that week in June. And it is a very participatory activity through associations of people who recreate the origins, and they wear the Roman uniforms, and if what they're wearing, what they wear as additional uniforms weigh the same as in Rome. Any more comments? So we'll thank the panelists with a round of applause, and we turn to the closing